To the people of Israel who are going through hard times, the prophet Isaiah spoke words of hope. For unto us a child is born, to us a son is given. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. If this is about Jesus, the Son, how can he be called Everlasting Father? Well, there are at least two ways to understand this. You can say on first hand, Jesus mirrors the character of the Father. Speaking of fathers, a long time ago, my father, a surgeon father, took all six of us, my family, to Rhodesia, when it was called Rhodesia, now it's Zimbabwe. And he was spelling off a surgeon that needed a break. So while he did his surgical thing in the mission hospital, we kids joined with classmates and in classrooms to talk about America and find out about their lives and all. And I remember one salient memory is of a family whose parents called their three sons these names: talk more, give more, and love more. Because they were hoping that their sons would grow up to be people of character that would exhibit those characteristics, that they would talk more, that they would speak good words to people, that they would be generous, giving more, and that they would love more, loving others. And the parents' goal is that they would replicate the stellar character of the parents. In 1979, some of you may remember Amy Grant, who was a Christian songwriter and singer. She had a hit song in 1979 that kind of launched her career. It was called My Father's Eyes, the lyrics of which read, "When people look inside my life, I want to hear them say, she's got her father's eyes, eyes that find the good in things when good is not around. Eyes that find the source of help when help just can't be found. Eyes full of compassion, seeing every pain, knowing what you're going through and seeing it the same, just like my father's eyes. She made it into a prayer that she might reflect her compassionate father's character in her life. So where do we see God's fatherly character in Scripture? A couple of Old Testament passages come to mind. Deuteronomy 1 talks about God's fatherly protection and provision. God says, I carried you, Israel, as a father carries his son. What a beautiful image. And then in Hosea chapter 11, we see the fatherly compassion and attentiveness of God to Israel. It was I who taught them to walk, taking them by the arms. I led them with cords of human kindness, with ties of love. I lifted them up to my cheek and bent down to feed them. What a beautiful picture of the fatherly-son relationship. And then you think of Jesus in the New Testament. His whole life in ministry was a masterclass in fatherly compassion. Jesus would say often, I can't do anything by myself. I only do what my Father tells me. The Son only does what he sees the Father doing. My Father is working, so I am working. Speaking of after he has just healed somebody. So Jesus is likened to the Father in Scripture, not only in the sense of mirroring the Father's character, but also in a second way. He manifests the Father's presence in him. Three quick snapshots that I see. First snapshot is from John 10, where we see Jesus' solidarity with the Father. He's talking with religious leaders who, after watching him heal and do miracles, they asked Jesus, well, if you're the Christ, for heaven's sakes, tell us plainly. And Jesus said, I did tell you. You don't believe me. If you don't believe me, believe the miracles that I do. I and the Father are one. Snapshot 2, Jesus is the window through which we see the Father. Jesus is talking to his disciples and he said, I'm going away. You can't go where I'm going now, but later on you can come. I'm going to come back and get you so that you can be with me. You know the way. And Thomas, the disciple, says, huh? We don't know the way. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. If you knew me, you would know my Father. From now on, you do know him and you do see him. And the disciples again say, huh? Show us the way, show us the Father. And Jesus says, when you see me, don't you know, you see the Father. There is no God behind the back of Jesus that's going to turn out to be something different than what we see in Jesus. When we see Jesus, we see the heart of the Father. And snapshot 3 from John 17, Jesus is praying for his disciples right before he's arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he says, just as you, Father, indwell me, and I indwell you, may they, the disciples and the larger group of disciples, including us, may they indwell us so that the world may know that you sent me. And this is where we see this term that the early church people gravitated to describe this. It's called perichoresis, meaning mutually indwelling. It's how they tried to describe the relationships of Father, Son, and Spirit within the triune being of God. That Father, Son, and Spirit indwell each other. They live in each other, kind of like a musical chord. You have distinct notes in a chord that all combine together to create a singular sound of the one chord. Distinct notes, but one chord. So, in Jesus' prayer, in line with Jesus' prayer, we can rightly say, Jesus the Son reveals the Father, for the Father is in the Son, even as the Son is in the Father. That's perichoresis. Isaiah didn't make a mistake in referring to Jesus the Son as everlasting Father, for when we see Jesus, we truly see the Father too.